All right.
Hello.
Another beautiful day here in Boulder County, Colorado. We're excited to be here, man. This is the very first Facebook Live
time.
for the Life Deer Antler Velvet. I'm Andrew Campbell. He's Carlo DeMeo. We're the two founders of Life Deer Antler Velvet. And we're here to talk to you guys about the product a little bit today. This is the first of many Facebook Lives to come, and I'm pretty excited about it.
We're going to talk about ourselves a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So you know who we are.
Yeah.
Know that we're not crazy.
Not crazy indeed. So we both have kind of a long history in physical fitness. We were childhood friends. We played soccer together when we were young.
Like 15 years.
Mm-hmm. We sure did. And injuries have always been a part of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was mostly knee injuries.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got into, so make a long story just as long. The reason that I got into deer antler in the first place was a back injury, an upper back injury, which stemmed from my legs are different lengths, which I had surgery for it in high school, which I initially found out about it because of a soccer injury. I kept hurting my knee.
Yeah, absolutely. I got into supplements because both of my parents are veterinarians, and about 10 years ago my mom switched from being a traditional veterinarian to more of a mixed holistic vet. And dietary consulting is a big part of that as well.
Diet and supplements.
Yeah, supplements, absolutely. And very quickly you learn that there's not a lot of regulation in the pet food industry or pet supplement industry, and as you would expect, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So that kind of led me down that journey to start discovering why quality sourcing really matters when it comes to ingredients for supplements, also for food along the same lines.
Which we, in doing a lot of research, found that that's exactly the same for human supplements too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the wild west of regulation in terms of what you can put in supplements, how to label them, really the whole thing.
And one of the things that was interesting about seeing supplements in animals is it kind of eliminates the placebo effect. Animals have trouble acting, right? So if you have an animal that has an injury or something specific and you can supplement to help that, you can meter the results without the human interference of interpretation, which is kind of interesting. Of course, human stuff has the FDA, which helps get rid of some of that misinformation, but for supplements, it leaves a little to be desired.
More so labeling, yeah. They don't really require any specifications in terms of what you have in it, where you get it, and that's kind of what drove us to want to make a product like this.
Right, absolutely. I mean, Deer Antler Velvet, it's kind of renowned for being around for thousands of years, but recently it's really come to light in terms of clinical testing and showing a lot of efficacy for joint-related issues. So we're going to talk about the kind of ingredients and stuff that go into Deer Antler Velvet, or at least the things that make it up, because that's one of the biggest questions we've got. We've only had this product on the market now for 2.5 weeks?
2.5, 3 weeks.
Something like that, and we've gotten some positive feedback. We've also gotten a lot of questions of people asking just, what is the product?
What the hell is it?
How is it harvested, and what does it do? So we want to kind of delve into some of that with today's Facebook Live.
And why ours is quality too, and kind of what separates our product from some of the other ones that are available.
Right. I mean, both of us are kind of conscious about what we put in our body, and I think both of us think twice before just buying a supplement without being able to confirm how it was handled, where it actually came from. And part of our vision for the Life brand is to educate people out there on how to tell the difference between high quality supplements and low quality supplements, not just for our products. We don't want you to take our word for it. We want to equip you with the ability to assess for yourself to make sure you're getting exactly what you're paying for.
Yep. You could walk into a GNC, start reading labels, and know this product is bullshit, this one's good, this one has all the information that I would want to see in a label, this one is missing a few things.
Yeah.
And that's usually the biggest thing. A lot of companies omit information if it's not going to help their stance,
right,
so to speak.
Like, so for example, one of the labeling faux pas that you'll see often is you just have to include the company that the product was manufactured or produced for, but you don't have to include where the product actually started, whether it was sourced in the United States or New Zealand or China, 3 very different parts of the world, and you kind of want to know where the product started in that process.
Right. Just because there's a lot of different regulation in terms of the ingredients based on where it comes from. Like the U.S. is pretty solid just because the FDA and the government in general just regulates a lot of the handling of animals.
Comparatively high regulations compared to a lot of other places in the world. Maybe not the best, but still pretty good.
Right. Like with deer specifically, New Zealand is very strict in terms of how they're kept, how the velvet itself is harvested, how it's processed, and there's a lot of different checkpoints that they have to go through even to be in the industry.
New Zealand is definitely one of the most regulated countries in the world. Not even just for deer antler velvet, but for ethical treatment of animals, harvesting, sustainability,
and agriculture in general.
Very, very high on their priority list. You have to be. If you're an island, you have to be very careful about how you use your resources. So Let's talk about the product a little bit itself, Deer Antler Velvet. I said ingredients, which is almost a bit of a misnomer because it has one ingredient, which is Deer Antler Velvet. And
Right.
it's a whole food, and that's part of what makes it so appealing, right?
Right. And it's just every year deer grow their antlers, and as they're growing, the antlers themselves are covered in velvet, which is just, think of it almost like a cocoon. It's the casing that has all the nutrients, has the blood supply, because as the antlers grow, they have nerve cells and nerves running through them. And then once they reach full growth, the cartilage hardens, becomes bone, the nerves die, the velvet falls off, and they are antlers,
Yeah.
which have no feeling. That's why they can use them for fighting. They can use them to, they scrape them against trees, just because the velvet's actually itchy to them. That's when they shed it, because
Right.
they scrape against trees.
Exactly. So
Really, it carries all the nutrients, and that's why it's such a big interest to scientists and from a health standpoint, because antlers grow faster than pretty much anything else in nature.
yeah, a simple parallel that you can draw is like stem cells. The idea behind stem cells, they're very basic, they're high growth, they can move into a lot of things.
Right.
The whole idea of Deer Antler Velvet is super fast growth of antlers, which shed and have to regrow consistently throughout a deer's life. So they are this weird concentrated piece of chemistry that all they really focus on is growth. By
Right.
they, I mean velvet.
Right. Yeah, because the antlers in the velvet grow up to 2 centimeters a day.
Yeah.
During
Which is
that growth season.
Actually crazy if you think about how much 2 centimeters actually
Almost
is
it's
per
an inch a
day.
day.
Yeah, per day. It's crazy.
Right. So, what's in it?
Yeah.
Is really the biggest thing. So, the product itself is just deer antler velvet, which, as I said, it contains all the nutrients as the antlers themselves are growing.
Yeah.
But from a human standpoint, it's glucosamine, chondroitin, hyaluronic acid, collagen. That's the thing. Collagen and calcium is the base of it, and then it contains a lot of those glycosaminoglycans, which is glucosamine, chondroitin, and hyaluronic acid.
Yeah, and if you've been taking supplements, you've probably heard those words before because hyaluronic acid, chondroitin, and glucosamine are all taken individually, even collagen as well, all taken as individual supplements for various different things.
We saw that in Sprouts yesterday. We walked through the supplement aisle, just kind of seeing what they have and what's available, and we want to see the cost of a lot of different things too. And all of those things that we just said are independent supplements.
Yeah.
And a lot of people take them independently. Like my mom was taking collagen,
Yep.
just because it's known to help with skin, hair, nails.
One of our customers was taking just glucosamine before she switched over to Deer Antler Velvet as well.
And the big thing with Velvet is because it's a whole food supplement, meaning rather than taking each individual component, you're taking it in its natural source. It has a stronger effect, which in other things it's called the entourage effect,
Yes.
in that all the components rely on each other to produce a stronger end product rather than if you're just taking each individual.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the most common questions we've gotten so far is how does your product vary from the Deer Antler Velvet extract that you see pretty
Right.
popularly advertised? It's a completely different product. The extracts are liquid based, and of course we have capsules, so they're processed a bit more. But talk a little bit about the main differences because they are completely different products.
They are, because ours is just the actual velvet, so it contains a lot of those other things like the glycosaminoglycans, amino acids, protein structures that help with tissue growth.
Yeah.
Specifically, obviously in joints and smooth tissues, ligaments, tendons, which tend to get beat up, especially if you work out a lot, just because they don't repair as quickly as muscle tissue.
Yeah.
So you might work out a lot, your muscles feel good, then you start to notice my elbow's starting to hurt, my shoulder hurts, my hips hurt, and that's just usually because your tendons and ligaments get beat up a little bit faster. So the main difference between ours and an extract is usually just growth factor 1 or insulin growth factor 1, which is actually taken by a lot of bodybuilders because it promotes overall tissue growth, which it's more closely associated with like HGH or human growth hormone.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, they're labeled as deer antler extract when they're not necessarily produced from deer themselves. It's almost like a misnomer to make them seem like more of a natural
Exactly.
product.
And the other key difference, of course, is IGF-1 is a banned substance in a lot of cases.
It is.
So
You can't take it for competitive sport.
Right.
Whether it be football, baseball,
Which
CrossFit.
to some people doesn't
weightlifting.
matter at all if you're just going for size and you're not competing, but for some folks staying, banned substance free is a really big deal. So that is one of the biggest differences. The capsules are not banned, or they are banned substance free. So there's nothing in them in the capsules that we sell
Yep.
that'll come up on a drug test.
Velvet is not a banned substance. You
Right.
can
Because it doesn't
definitely
actually
take it.
have insulin growth factor 1.
Right. The extract is insulin growth factor 1. And that's actually what, so Ray Lewis a couple years ago, a football player,
Yep.
got in trouble because he tested positive for IGF-1,
Mhm.
and it was from the spray.
Yeah.
Which usually you spray it under the tongue, it's liposomal, which is just
Yeah.
supposed to help you grow tissue.
Yeah, and that's part of the confusion why if you just sort of Google NFL banned Deer Antler Velvet or something, you'll see people saying that it's not an active substance, but it's banned anyway, and that's because there's confusion about IGF-1 in the liquid form versus the capsules, whereas the capsules I think are still technically banned by the NFL, even though they don't have IGF-1 in it.
Well, because you can have capsules that are IGF-1,
Right,
but
okay.
you can take Deer Antler Velvet in the NFL.
Oh, okay. You just can't take the IGF-1.
Right. You
Okay.
can't take IGF-1, yeah.
Right.
That's what you test positive for.
Right. So, but when you read the articles, it's very confusing.
Because a lot of times they don't know they don't know the difference.
Yeah.
So whoever, people writing the articles and then just everyone online kind of uses one in place of the other, which just leads to confusion.
Absolutely. So,
And then the side effects
Yeah.
is another big part of it.
Mhm.
With Deer Antler Velvet, they've done some pretty extensive testing in terms of can you overdose on it? What are the negative effects if you take too much? Like a toxicity study. And really there was none. When
Yeah.
one of them, they did it on rats, and they simulated up to if a 200-pound man took, I think it was 20 pounds of Velvet per day.
yeah.
And the only thing they saw was a little bit of enlargement and activity in his liver,
Yeah.
or in the rat's livers.
But that's still an obscene amount of body weight of Deer Antler Velvet.
You
You couldn't ingest that much if you
ingest that much.
tried.
Right.
So yeah, it's basically impossible to OD on. It's not like creatine where if you take too much, you can actually destroy
You can
your
have
kidneys.
kidney damage, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the same thing with if you took too much growth factor 1 or HGH. A lot of times that leads to just overall tissue enlargement. So
Yeah.
that's where you see a lot of times bodybuilders, strong men, they have enlarged hearts once they're in their 40s or 50s. And a lot of times they have heart attacks,
Right.
just because it's a tissue and it grows as you take HGH,
And that's because
which leads to growth factor production.
you
in the
take
body.
HGH from muscle growth, but it's not just the muscles on your arms that grow. It's your whole
Right.
body. Your heart is a big old muscle too.
Right.
So it comes at a cost.
Right. And what Deer Antler Velvet is aimed to do is just promote the body's natural tissue growth functions.
Yeah.
So you're not going to exceed, and it's not like an HGH where you're just going to keep growing and growing as you keep working out.
Yeah.
It's more so just repair and recovery.
And that's part of the whole food aspect of it, right? Yeah. Maybe a buzzword at this point, but it is truly a whole food.
It is.
So, one of the last things we want to talk about is what is it used for? If you're sitting at home, well, okay, this sounds awesome, but do I need to take it?
Right. Is it just for athletes?
Yeah. What
We've
are
gotten
the
that
main
question a
reasons to
couple
take it?
times.
Is it just for athletes? Is it for old people? Who is this targeted to?
But you got to be careful saying old people.
Old people. Okay. Older folks.
Older people.
Older folks.
And really, it's for anyone that is feeling a little bit beat up. So obviously, athletes is a big portion of that. Like me, I work out 5 days a week, sometimes a couple times a day, and my elbows hurt because of my leg length thing. My back hurts, my shoulders hurt, and it just helps me to feel 100%. So I've been taking it for a couple of years. I took a few other products. That's kind of what led me down the path to want to make it ourselves.
You mean like other Deer Antler
Other
products?
velvet products, yeah. So certainly athletes, but really it's anyone. As you age, your joints start to get beat up. The hyaluronic acid is actually a big part of that, just because your body doesn't produce it as well. And think of that's like the fluid in joints, so it makes joints function well. So taking something like Deer Antler Velvet can strengthen that, and just if you have joint pain, it can be a big help.
Yeah. One of the clinical studies I was reading, the assessment was more so, it's not about like human growth hormone where it allows you to grow muscle faster, but it allows you to recover more quickly so that you can work out more than you would have. So you can end up growing muscle more quickly. But it's not because of unnatural muscle growth, it just allows you to regenerate more quickly when you're recovering.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a big piece of it. But as you were saying, it's not just for athletes. It's also great for just kind of general aches and pains, aging if you have mild arthritis, that kind of stuff. Just general wear and tear from daily life. It can be great if you have a job where it's very manual and you're using the same repetitive motions over and over. Deer Antler Velvet could be helpful for that.
Yeah, and it's also really good for osteoarthritis. So like
Calcium, bone density, all that stuff.
My grandma, for example, is taking it just because she's broken her hip twice, or it was hip once, leg once, and then she broke her neck.
Ooh.
All from gardening. She needs to stop gardening. But it's because as you age, it's actually, so when you're really young, teenagers and older people just eat less, or don't have such a good diet. Teenagers, for example, don't have a very good diet. So you're not getting all the nutrients you need. You might not be getting the calcium you need, which as you age just leads to more porous bones, or weaker bones. So if you have a fall, if you fell walking in the yard, you'd be fine. My grandma falls, she breaks her leg.
Right.
So she needs to supplement calcium either through diet, through supplements, which, because she has less appetite, supplement is usually a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So she's taking Life,
the
Life product.
Yeah.
Just get that calcium just to help with joint function too.
Yeah, it's very cool. So, like I said, we've already had some products move all over the country, a couple international sales as well. We ship pretty much anywhere that speaks English. That includes UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. I think we ship to Mexico
Portugal
now.
even.
Portugal even. So we ship all over the place. It's available on our website, dav.life, or just davlife.com if the .life is tripping you up. But this was a lot of fun, man. This is the first of many Facebook Lives to come. We're planning on doing these 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Just to answer questions for the most part.
10 a.m. Mountain Time, 9 a.m. Pacific is going to be the go-to plan. There's a contact form on our website, or just dav.life/contact if you have questions, thoughts, or even things you'd like us to talk about on future ones. We'd love to have topics.
Our goal is just to provide information. Not necessarily just on our supplement, just on all supplements in general and things that you're taking.
Yeah, general wellness even. Yeah. So,
which if you saw our Instagram post yesterday, we started eating wheatgrass.
Yeah.
Just because they had it at Sprouts.
We'll see. The jury's still out on wheatgrass, I think. I'm not sure about that one.
Unknown.
But
usually it's just too much spinach.
Yeah. It's green though, so that's good.
Very green.
That's good. So we have other social media as well, Twitter, Instagram, all of it you can find on our website. So stay social with us. We look forward to hearing from all of you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you again on Friday. We've got another one coming up in 2 days.
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
Talk to you then.
We'll see you guys next time.